right, let's check it out. Real quick, I want to talk to you guys about collecting your money when you're running your lawn care landscaping business and how I went from having so many people owing me money to literally having like 99.9% of our cash flow and our money all come in on time, and how cash flow problems are a thing of the past. If that sounds too good to be true, then listen up and let me share with you guys how I did it. Hey, what's up guys? It's Brian here, Brian's Lawn Maintenance. If you guys are new here, my channel is all about helping you guys grow a more successful lawn care landscaping business so you can go out there and crush it. This video is sponsored by Yardbooks, and today's topic, we're going to be talking in this series now that we've been doing with Yardbook about how to fix your cash flow issues and how I utilize Yardbook to get that job done. Now, here's the whole deal. Let me tell you guys this quick story. It's hard enough to do lawn care landscaping and to do the physical work and to crush it through summer like most of us do, right? We're working long hours, we're working long days. In fact, today is the last day of August. And you know what? I was thinking to myself, the headaches, the anxiousness, and all of the stuff that went into the fact that just because I finished my month doesn't mean that I've actually cashed out my month. In fact, I remember it vividly just about 12 to 18 months ago when I was running my business, how end of month used to freak me out and stress me out, because after I was exhausted, just, you know, slam packed busy with getting all the work done and, you know, cutting tons of grass, now we have to go into the end of month, which is all the billing. Now, what we're gonna do for just a few minutes is talk to you guys about the evolution of my billing system for my business over the last 3 or 4 years. It went from paper billing and stuffing envelopes to finally merging online and starting to process credit cards, to now where we're at right now with a full auto charge card on file system that we do at the end of the month. We went from having major cash flow issues to having a lot more of our cash to now we're running almost 99.9% of all of our cash and cash flow on time when it comes to lawn care and lawn maintenance. And I'm gonna show you guys and tell you guys exactly how we do that. Like I was saying earlier, there's nothing more frustrating than mowing all month and giving people all this extra line of credit, if you will, where customers owe you $100, $150, $200, depending on whatever you guys cut for out, wherever you guys are in the country. And going into the next month and having 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks for some of these customers to pay, it just gets a little ridiculous. In fact, I don't know if you guys can relate, but here's how my business model worked. We would cut lawns all month, and then we would leave the customer a paper invoice, which, by the way, that meant I had to hand fill out 100+ invoices and envelopes and stuff them in a little U-line bag that kind of looked like the one from Subway if it didn't have any logos on it, and stick that in the customer's mailbox. We used to give them 21 days to pay that bill. After a few weeks and months and years of that, I started shortening it to 14 days, then to 10 days, right? What I would used to include in that bag also was a return envelope stamped with my address, so it hopefully gave them some motivation to stick that check in the mail a lot quicker than to just let that bill go for 2 or 3 weeks, right? What happened was, after I'd hand fill out 100+ invoices, which took 3 or 4 hours, we'd have to stuff the envelopes, which took another 2 or 3 hours, and then we'd have to go drop them off at the post office sometimes, once we evolved from dropping them off at the mailbox to mailing them all out. Still costed, you know, 40, 50, 60 bucks in postage, right? What happened was, the following month, in the first week, we'd probably get about 25% of the money that we had billed out back pretty quickly. Most of our customers were pretty good. But what I noticed is that the second week, we'd get about another 20% of our money that was owed to us from the previous month. Not bad, 45%. Enough to cover all of our basic life bills, keep the business running, and start to float some of payroll. Well, no worries, right? The third week of the month, we get another 20%, and the fourth week, maybe another 10%. Now, I don't know if you add all that up, but here's what it always came down to: about 70 to 80% of our money. And again, we're going into the 5th and 6th week, and it just got a little ridiculous, okay? So here's what I did. Over the last 24 months, I took all of our paper billing and we merged everything to a website called Square. They'll process all of our credit cards, and it worked out great. I had nothing wrong with that. In fact, Square was a really good service for us for a while, but there was no lawn care software included in that, and that's why I really like moving to Yardbooks, and that's why I made the switch to have credit card processing and also be able to build my business and track everything. So it was credit card processing software plus lawn care software, and to me, that's why I went with Yardbook. Plus, honestly, a lot of you guys suggested it because you guys were using it, and in fact, I've adopted it over the last 6 months and has been a major game changer for us. But here's the deal. To go back to my previous story, it always seemed like we had 70 to 80% of our money, and I said this on previous videos, that I felt like I turned into a professional debt collector. In fact, I got in the business to mow grass, to do landscaping, and to do good work for my customers. I did not get started being self-employed to chase people down to pay their stupid lawn care bill, right? Even if it was just $100. And you guys know the stories, right? You always get the customers, yeah, the check goes in the mail, I mailed it last week, or no honey, I never got your invoice. Sometimes you get little stories like, oh hey, little Johnny was sick, or you know, we had to make our mortgage payment, but we'll get you in 2 weeks. And as you guys can imagine, these stories just kind of all had the little life of their own, right? It was always something with about 20% of my customers. And I don't know if you guys can really relate, but here's how it was on the back end for me and my wife. We would freak out towards the end of the month. We go from eating chicken and steaks and having payroll to at the end of the month, not having any money in the checking account and not being able to sometimes make payroll. And it was just stressing us out for a long time. And I said, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better system. Now, I will say this, there's other credit card processing systems where you can store credit card on file and you can process credit cards. So I don't want you guys to think this is exclusive technology to Yardbook. What I've personally come to realize is that this is technology that I can marry with yard managing software for my lawn care landscaping business with credit card processing software. So that's why I think it's a win-win scenario. So here's the deal, and here's the reason for the video. I want to help you guys solve the cash flow problems with your business. Literally, we've had people owe us thousands of dollars over the season to now having no more cash flow problems, where literally at the end of the month, we have 99.9% success rate with charging cards on file and having all of our money in our checking account 4 or 5 days later, or whatever it is. Now, here's what I'll tell you guys. I said this in a previous video a couple months back, and I meant it when I said it. I was so getting mad and fired up about not having my cash that I was literally willing to lose or sacrifice 10, 20, 25% of my business because customers weren't paying. I mean, it was getting pretty ridiculous. And I'm a really nice guy. I'm really lenient. Maybe that was some of my fault, but it didn't matter. It seemed like 20 to 25% of our money was always owed to us. So here's the deal. Here's what we do now. And I said this even in the spring. Now we've moved everybody to a charge card on file system. Now, we had all the customer profiles from everybody that we collected over the last 18 months while we moved to Square back in the day. And we had everybody's email on file. What I did in the spring was I talked to every single customer over the phone, and I basically just explained to them, hey, we're moving to a charge card on file system to make it more convenient and more easy for you guys and for ourselves to make this whole partnership for lawn care landscaping that much easier for everybody involved. All we need to do is get you a card on file. We'll email you a private link. And at the end of the month, we're gonna charge cards on file or cash out or tender out with any work that we do. Now, again, this is lawn maintenance related. Landscaping, we still invoice. Commercial properties, we still invoice or send a a paper invoice. But for the residentials, I'm 100% adoption. In fact, 99.9, because there's one guy, he's literally like 92 years old and he still writes me out a paper check. But I didn't want to drop him. He's a really nice old guy, right? But everybody else, when we sign somebody else up, here's what I do now, and maybe this can help you guys out, is what I do is I tell folks to grab my number off the trailer, send me a text message with their full name, full address, and email, and that way I can populate them in my system. After we populate a customer in our system, what I tell them is, hey, I'm going to send you an email link for a way to populate your credit card on file. I don't see that information. We don't pre-authorize or hold anything on that file, but that's just a way to have a card on file. And what we do is at the end of the month, we're going to cash out. Now, I'll tell you guys straight up, we've had like 99% adoption with this. We've only had one customer that I let go because of this whole process. And quite honestly, she was on the way out anyway. She wanted like the back cut bi-weekly, the front cut every week. It was just all this crazy stuff. And quite honestly, there was more to it, but she was kind of a headache customer. All things being said, what I would offer people that had a little fuss with adopting at least this season was, hey, if you want to do an optional seasonal prepay, we'll give you a 5% discount. That was one option I wanted to give both customers, that if they didn't feel comfortable initially storing a card on file, that they can prepay, because I didn't know how this would go. I'm happy to report report that literally we have 100% of our folks bought in now. Now, initially, we only had about 80% of our folks do the whole credit card processing on file system where I sent the link, they populated a card. And by the way, if somebody ever has to change a card on file, you can just resend that link in Yardbook to have them populate a new card. So it's super easy. What happened was after we processed the first month or two, we invoiced all the folks that didn't have a card on file, but I gave them an ultimatum. I said, unfortunately, this is the only way we do stuff. And we had about 12 to 15 stragglers. And I said, if you don't put a card on file over the next 7 to 10 days, then we're just gonna have to let you go as a customer. No harm, no foul. And quite honestly, everybody was super apologetic. They wanted to keep us going. Quite honestly, it was mid-spring, obviously. You know, we're going into May, June, July now. So none of those folks were able to really shop for another lawn care service. So we kind of had them where they needed us. And you know what? I wanted to continue them with being a customer of ours. So it was really a win-win. So a lot of these folks just kind of needed to have the, you know, the foot put down that, hey, this is the new way things are going. And if you want to continue being a customer of Brian's Lawn Maintenance, then this is what you're going to have to do. Now, here's what I'll tell you guys. I know right now it's in the end of August and going into September, and a lot of you guys are thinking thoughts like, hey, I'll just adopt this whole philosophy and program maybe next year in the spring. That's totally cool if you guys want to do that. That's what I did. But here's what I'll tell you guys right now. There's nothing wrong with, as the season wanes a little bit, we get a little bit more time to start integrating this into new customers for sure, but start tackling your old customers, and that way you don't have to do this going into spring. Again, it's really easy to communicate this to your customers where, hey, you know what? We're going to do a charge card on file system. We charge at the end of the month and then we cash out. It's going to be very convenient for you, convenient for us. You know, again, earlier, some of the pushback was that customers never even got the invoices. You know what? Now, if they don't have the money to afford us with a card on file, they shouldn't be a customer of ours at all, because you know they're just going to take forever to pay. So here's what I'm trying to say. If you guys are thinking about putting this off till next spring, I would say tackle this now. You're gonna have so many more opportunities to grow your lawn care landscaping business in the spring where you're not gonna have time to do all this. You don't wanna be catching up with all this in the February, March timeframe. So why not do it now? Now, if you wait till then, just like I did, you'll be totally fine. But again, don't get caught with you know, your hands tied in that spring rush, being able to change your whole lawn care software over, or to tackle the spring rush and start getting out there, as we all know we're anxious to do in February, March, April. In fact, that was kind of my issue, is that I didn't adopt Yardbook until the end of February, and it took me about 10 to 15 hours to integrate everything I had, populate everything, all my customer profiles, all my routes, etc. So just a piece of encouragement for you guys. Don't necessarily wait till next spring. Start adopting this stuff now. Again, guys, I wanted to let you know that this is a sponsored video with Yardbooks. We've had them as an advertising partner on our channel for the last 4 to 6 months. Quite honestly, it has been seriously a game changer for my business. Now, again, you guys turned me on to Yardbooks, and I couldn't be more thankful. I always say that YouTube is a two-way street, so thank you to all of you guys. Here's what I'm telling you guys. At the end of the day, here's the picture you guys got to understand. I went from literally chasing customers down an extra couple of hours a week on text messages, phone calls, and it was getting exhausting. We were always freaking out whether or not we would have enough money in the checking account to cover payroll and labor and this and that going into the end of the month. And you know what? It all got really, really unfun and really annoying, and it created a lot of conversations and arguments in our household. And you know what? Here's what I want to tell you guys straight up. At the end of the month now, here's the deal. Yes, it still takes 2 or 3 months to cash out, I call it, and to invoice every single person as we go, and charge card on file, charge card on file, charge card, click, 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 the whole way down, right? But here's the cool part, and this is the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm trying to communicate this to you guys because if there's any one thing that I see you guys having a struggle with more than anything else, it's not how to bid a property, how to do work, it's you've already done this massive amount of work, but you haven't got paid for it yet. Imagine if you clicked for 2 hours, charge card on file with all of your customers, and you build out 12, 15, 18, 20, even if it was just $2,000 and you have a small business, but you did $2,000 of work and you have that $2,000 in your checking account at the end of the month. How cool is that? I'm telling you guys, fix your cash flow problems now so you can already hit the ground running going in the spring. Imagine what it would be like to have your payroll covered. Imagine what it would be like to have your personal bills paid, rents paid, the mortgages paid, car payments are made. Imagine having $10,000 in your checking account and you want to buy that new piece of equipment and you're debating whether you should finance it or if you should just pay cash for it. You know, those are the kind of options that you have when you have your cash flow reeled in and you have your business under control. Again, I know there's other options out there with terms of credit card processing and other lawn care software, and they're all great, they're all fantastic. But here's what I would encourage you guys. Start adopting a system like this with a charge card on file system. Let me give you guys a +1, an extra credit tip, is that if you're also in the snow removal business, imagine this. If you don't do prepay and you do things a la carte, how easy would it be after you do your whole snow removal run and you have 50 accounts that you did at $30 or $40 per push, and you click, charge. You go the whole way through and you cashed out your $1,500 snow run because everybody had a card on file. I'm telling you, this isn't just for lawn care landscaping. You can do it for snow removal. You can do it for whatever you guys want to do. For us personally, anything landscaping, we still do over $1,000. We do a 50% deposit and we still invoice the rest of it. But for everything else, a $40 fertilizer app that I subcontract out, a core aeration for $50, leaf cleanups and fall cleanups, spring cleanups, everything is charge card on file. We do not wait anymore to have the money in the checking account. And I'm telling you, for me personally, I'm just telling you guys, for me personally, it has been a game changer. You want to talk about hang loose in 2018? That's what Brian's Law Maintenance business has been. Guys, Yardbook has been great for me. If it's great for you, leave me a comment down below. I want to know if you guys are adopting this kind of philosophy and this kind of attitude towards your business. All things being said, yardbooks.com, check it out.